What's the best game you've ever commentated on, and why?
So yeah, not to sound like the Charles Runcie fan club, but this was another kind of opportunity that came my way, kind of via him and an old friend and colleague of mine called Jim Cathcart, who I'd worked with at BBC Berkshire, and he'd taken an idyllic job and lifestyle at BBC Radio Guernsey, and Jim got in touch with me again completely out of the blue and said, you know, we need some commentators on the mainland of England to cover Guernsey Football Club. Can you do a match for us? So I went and did a match, and it was, you know, I loved it straight away. It was kind of real, proper football, proper tackles, you know, no egos, no multi-million-pound salaries. It was just really genuine, authentic football. So I did that first match. I was then asked to do a second match a few weeks later, and then things snowballed a bit because Guernsey got on a run in the FA Vase. I ended up following them as the commentator all the way through to the semi-finals, which I'll get onto in a second. But the most remarkable match I've ever commentated on was, now Guernsey fans will correct me, but I think it was, let's say, third or fourth round, and they were drawn away at a club called Erith Town in East London. Now, I'm pretty sure that Guernsey found themselves 3-0 down. One of their star players, who was a guy called, his surname was Zico Black. Believe it or not, he'd been named after Zico, the Brazilian legend. Zico Black broke his leg. It was horrific. It was a horrific leg break. The match was halted for a good 30 minutes. An ambulance had to drive onto the pitch. It was one of those. It was awful. So they were 3-0 down, lost one of their star players to one of the worst injuries I've seen on a football pitch. And yet they somehow managed to battle back to get to 3-3 into extra time, and Guernsey won it 4-3. And because of the massive injury delay, you know, you were talking, it was like gone 6:30 p.m. by the time the match finished. It was pretty remarkable. But then in some ways, even more amazingly, they got to the semi-finals, and it was a two-legged semi-final. In the end, sort of a sad end, I'm afraid it doesn't have a happy ending, this story. In the end, Guernsey were knocked out by Spennymoor Town, right? And the second leg was at Spennymoor, and we went all the way up to County Durham, I think it was, and Guernsey were knocked out by a goal from a player who was playing for Spennymoor Town, who was called Andy Stevenson.
No.
And I had to commentate on a guy called Andy Stevenson scoring the goal that shattered my dreams of commentating on Guernsey at Wembley, because you were literally a match from Wembley. Oh. And it was just the most, you know, you couldn't have written it really. People wouldn't have believed it had I written it down. And I remember I tweeted Andy Stevenson of Spennymoor Town after the match and said, do you realise, you know, what you did today? And we've sort of semi-kept in touch ever since. It was quite a funny story. But, you know, I'd done bits of reporting and commentating to a certain extent, but certainly reporting at Radio Berkshire. I'd reported on horse racing, and myself and a guy called Ollie Williams, who people might know from, he was BBC's Olympic reporter. Me and him commentated on ice hockey together at BBC Berkshire. So I'd done elements, but, you know, the Guernsey experience was really good, and I still look out for their scores now. And, you know, there's a guy, Ross Allen, I think, he scored his 200th goal for Guernsey just the other weekend. And I just keep an eye out, because now I'm sort of really hoping that one or two of the Guernsey players sort of move up the leagues, and I'm able to say I was there for when they, you know, beat Erith Town 4-3 in the FA Vase.
Absolutely brilliant story.